Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there when you looked again? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something improbable, but when they spoke to a ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left them unsatisfied? My name is Jack, and this is my colleague Chris, and we are senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative. We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect those same creatures from the world. Well, hello there, people. How are we doing today? And hello there, Chris. How are you doing?
Hello, Jack. I am doing pretty well, actually. I'm recovering from telling the world what an idiot I am last time, and it's freeing to just let people see who you really are inside, even if it's a dumbass.
Well, it's important to know who you are.
Exactly. What about you?
I'm doing pretty good, actually. I'm actually going to be speaking about probably one of my more favourite little creatures that we've ever dealt with. I say little, it's not that small.
Really?
But it's one that I dealt with quite early on in my career as well. And it's quite nice because we're going from the mermaids last week that you were telling us all about how they want to kill us, potentially eat us, but they really, really just enjoy hunting us, to a creature that's actually all about protecting humanity.
Oh, well, that's a nice change of pace.
I know, it really is, isn't it? We've actually got something here that isn't out and to see us as dinner. Or
Neat.
yeah. Or just something to hunt or chew on. Essentially, we've got something that likes to protect us, not just see us as a toy.
Yeah. I like not getting chewed.
I think it's probably some of a lot of people's favourite thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Well, let's not waste any time. Let's just get straight into it. So, the creature we're talking about today is known as the Haechi.
Sorry, the what?
The Haechi.
The hater?
The Haechi.
The Haechi.
Or the Haite.
Okay.
Or the Haechi.
That is already confusing. And a minefield for proper pronunciation.
Yes, but we know by now, if you're listening to this podcast, you are well aware, we are not here to do proper pronunciation.
Exactly.
Yeah, to the point where I can't even say the word pronunciation correct.
I mean, it's just on brand.
Exactly. But yeah, it's got 3 different names depending on where it is, and it's also got even more names depending on what country you're talking about, their version of it, but that's something we can get onto a little bit later.
Okay.
It is a creature of Korean folklore and East Asian mythology.
Explains the being hard to pronounce bit.
Very much so. It tells us exactly why, because there's no way you can ever really say them accurately first time if you are from the West.
Yeah. That's definitely true. At least for us.
Exactly. So they are believed to have originated from the constellation of Hydra, according to a legend being sent to Earth by the gods to protect humanity.
Okay. That's quite the resume.
Alien creatures from space sent by gods to protect us.
Sounds pretty metal.
It does actually, doesn't it? Does sound pretty cool. But yeah, these are essentially guardian creatures, as you could probably tell. And they are creatures that, through the mythology and through folklore, they're supposed to be able to ward off evil spirits and able to discern between good and evil, protect people from natural disasters, especially fires, supposed to bring good fortune, and they're associated with justice, righteousness, and loyalty.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Also, maybe I'm maybe I'm a cynic, but everything that says they're all about justice is usually not. So I'm a bit skeptical, but hopefully I'm wrong.
Well, interestingly, these creatures are supposed to punish wrongdoers and protect those who are innocent. So they do seem to be all about justice, righteousness, and loyalty. They are here to maintain people on the right side of, I'm guessing, morality, or at least what they see as morality. They also have a few little abilities to help them do this same skill. So they have the ability to stop, reverse, or even fast forward through time, and they can breathe fire.
Wow, that is pretty powerful.
Yep.
I don't even care about the fire breathing, but manipulating time is probably the most powerful thing you can do.
Exactly, and that will come into importance a little bit later on. They have also found that these creatures not just stay within Korea, South Korea specifically. They have also got connections to Chinese mythology. So, as we said, East Asian mythology. So, the Chinese side, where it is known as the Zaiji.
Yeah. I'm not gonna try to say that, but sure.
I probably shouldn't have. But, yeah. And then in Japanese legends, they are known as the Kumainu.
Interesting, but they are all the same creatures, just different names for them, or...
Well, obviously, in terms of the mythology, they're supposed to be separate creatures, but from what we know, having interacted with them, they do appear to be the same creatures, just obviously different names in different cultures.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems to obviously be very, very, very common, though, isn't it? Really, different countries, different languages, different cultures. All kind of talking about the same thing. A horse in French is not...
Yeah, sure.
Horse, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
But interestingly, they also have some more special powers, according to kind of Japanese legends of them. They appear to have the ability to bite the moon, which explains why the moon wanes.
I have questions.
And I probably don't have answers, but you can ask them anyway.
I mean, apart from the logistical problems of that, how does the moon grow back?
I mean, that's definitely not the question I was expecting to hear. I was planning an answer around cheddar. But again, this is one of those ones where we're pretty certain that's part of the legend, because, as you say, the moon does appear to grow back. But who knows? Maybe the gods that sent them down, maybe it's in the same way that, if your dog starts biting the furniture, you just have to replace it.
I mean, maybe. That would explain why anyone would fake the moon landing, I guess. Just imagine Neil Armstrong getting out there and suddenly there's a huge creature eating half of the moon in front of him.
Neil Armstrong and the rest get there and there just isn't a moon. This is just a holograph.
Amazing. Oh God, it's just putting a new one there as they come.
Give me 10 minutes, yeah?
Yeah. I'm just cleaning up.
I don't think we want to be adding to the moon landing conspiracies, if I'm perfectly honest. But
probably not.
Well, they may not eat the moon, but apparently, and this is where it starts getting a little bit more sinister with them. They're meant to be very intuitive creatures. They understand human speech, and they have a great intellect, so that they can actually understand us and converse with us.
Yes.
To the point where, as we've already identified, they are there to punish wrongdoers and protect the innocent. They understand right from wrong, and they are willing to not only ram into and knock over various officials who are corrupt, they'll also devour them.
Okay, I mean, Do we trust their judgment at least?
Well, I mean, so far in every interaction I've had with them, I trust their judgment, and maybe they could do it a little bit more for us lately. But again, obviously, this is very much based around more kind of ancient, kind of East Asian times. So we're probably talking more kind of like medieval times and. Around the times of like the Mongols and things like that.
I mean, I was gonna say, this is of course only my opinion. I'm not representing the CCI with this statement, but there's certain people that I wouldn't be especially sad about if they get devoured.
Exactly what I was thinking personally. But again, let's move on from that interesting debate.
Yeah, maybe that's better.
Yeah. So I bet you're kind of wondering what they look like.
I am, especially if they can eat the moon. It seems to suggest they're pretty big. Maybe.
They're not small, that's for certain. They have a range of looks based on, again, the different regions and kind of different areas of folklore they come from. Yeah. So the South Korean version, they appear to have the body of a lion, followed by mane resembling flames. So again, if you think of like the big ruff around the lion's neck, that appears to be flames on them.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, they can have the scales of a fish or a dragon kind of covering its body.
Yeah. Interesting.
They can have the horns of a deer or a dragon.
I mean, I've seen several hybrid creatures, but that's already a lot of body parts.
Yeah, well, they also have a tail that is often portrayed as long and curling, similar to that of like what you might think of like a Chinese kind of dragon, that kind of area. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
In some cultures, they are seen to be similar to that, but they're more of a scaled goat-like creature.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's a downgrade from a flaming lion.
That's the Japanese version. And if you go anywhere near the Chinese version of it, it has the head of a unicorn, the body of a lion, and the scales of a fish.
Okay, what was the body of a unicorn?
No, head of a unicorn.
Okay, yeah. That makes a lot more sense. I was kind of confused there.
Scaled unicorn.
Yeah. And
no.
And those are some pretty big differences in appearance.
Well, obviously, again, these are all the different ways in which it can look. I can tell you, based on our interactions with them, they're pretty much the kind of the South Korean. So the body of a lion with like the mane of flames and
so the
the
cool
scales. Yeah, the cool-looking one. Again, the mane resembles flames. It is not actually on fire. Aww. That is one thing I need to point out.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, well, it's also quite nice because when you get close to them, you don't get burnt.
That's true, I guess.
Third-degree burns.
Wait, am I gonna get devoured because I said I was disappointed by there not being fire?
Do you have innocence in your heart when you did it?
Probably not. Let's be honest.
We might need to keep you away from East Asia for a little while.
Yeah.
But they are they're interesting looking creatures. It's nice because these are creatures we can have a conversation with.
Okay.
As well.
So they do speak.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So did we ever ask them where they come from? Were they actually sent by the gods?
No, we never asked them that question. There are certain things where
you can't just ask someone if they're sent by the gods.
Exactly. Who knows? I mean, do you really want that existential crisis to find out that they're actually gods?
What's one more existential crisis on top of all the others?
Well, at the same time, I didn't want to annoy them if they're eating corrupt officials.
Yeah, true. True.
Let them be useful.
Yeah.
But obviously, in East Asian kind of mythology and folklore, they have a huge amount of symbolism kind of based around it. They are symbols of justice, In Chinese mythology, they are not just symbols of justice, but they are seen as actual judges. So, like judges in a court. They are pretty much legal control in a way.
Interesting.
Because their only purpose is to root out corruption, to protect the innocent, to punish the wicked, the evil, and the guilty.
Yeah.
As a result, there is a huge amount of symbolism that follows them. So there's statues of them built in front of important buildings, acting as guardians in a similar way that gargoyles are in Europe.
Yeah.
Their aim is for them to ward off evil and misfortune, protecting entrances, gates, walls, and even palaces, which we can have the argument about whether palaces are evil or not later on, or at least the individuals inside them, and especially when it comes to government buildings. But again, if they are there, the aim is protection. They are there as guardians of truth, justice, and positivity.
And I don't know if I should say this, but I don't feel like they're doing that much of a good job lately.
It's debatable, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe they're understaffed.
I'll tell them they need to get out a job advert.
I mean, I'm up to devour some people who deserve it.
Okay, we're going to move swiftly on from that one. Hi, everyone. Blinking your myth, it just got weird. We already were weird.
How could you say that?
But again, like these same feelings have kind of moved on into the modern times as well. So their modern significance is that they are often used as a symbol of the capital city of South Korea, Seoul, as a logo, emblems, mascots, and they are actually used by the metropolitan government of Seoul, which again, maybe that's why they're getting a little bit weaker. But governments and whatnot. But we'll move on.
Yes.
But they are also really, really important because they have appeared in art and literature, drama, movies, games. They're seen as kind of like magical supporting creatures.
Okay.
So
I didn't know they were this famous.
They seem to be everywhere. But again, if we're talking that kind of part of the world, they probably found themselves a lot in things like JRPGs, and let's be perfectly honest, it's really hard to understand what anything is in a JRPG.
That's true.
It's got an image that's been used in traditional Korean crafts, such as pottery, textiles, paintings. So you can see it's got a very like arty background.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about a creature that is very much, seen as an aspirational, positive, hopeful aspect to society.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised it's found its way there.
The only thing I'm kind of wondering is why they are so focused on the Asian area, apparently. Because it sounds like they would not have a problem getting around the world.
Yeah, we've never really found out why they seem to stay in that part of the world. Because these are one of those creatures that we don't really contain or anything. We don't really prevent them from moving because of their.
You probably couldn't.
Well, again, because of their intellect and whatnot. What do we do? Shove them in an enclosure? It's
exactly.
It's
couldn't do that.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bit morally grey that we do it in the first place. With some creatures, but we can justify it to protect them, and we try and do everything we possibly can to get them as free as possible. But a creature with the intellect to actually have a full-blown, philosophical conversation between us, we can't exactly imprison them. That's just not right.
I mean, even if that wasn't a problem, a creature that can manipulate time is probably pretty much impossible to get hold of if they don't want to be taken hold of.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, but again, we'll get on to that in a minute.
That sounds ominous.
Well, there's a really, really funny story that I want to tell you before we kind of go on to how I've interacted with them really in the past.
Okay,
But there is
tell me the funny story.
well, there is the story of Gao Yao, the Minister for Justice under the legendary Emperor Shun. He employed
Okay.
a Haechi. He actually employed one to be because he was the Minister of Justice, and obviously these creatures they know instinctively if someone is guilty, innocent, they have evil in their heart, good intentions. They know this by their very nature. So he employed one under to help him out during criminal proceedings. He had
Interesting.
he gave them just one job. He would command them to ram the accused, and they would only do so if they were guilty.
Oh. I mean, if you can trust their judgment, that sounds like not the worst of ideas.
Well, here's the thing. I always think you can trust their judgment because of the way in which I interacted with them a long time ago. Because, as you'll see, they reason, they weigh up the pros and cons, and they make decisions based on their views and based on their mission, essentially. When I was probably a couple of years into the job, just starting to intern in the investigation side of it all, we were sent to go investigate a really, really odd situation in South Korea, in Seoul.
Yeah.
Well, there was a massive rash of incredibly lucky situations going in a certain area.
Yeah, that sounds fishy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I see the connection yet.
Well, as we said, these creatures are supposed to bring fortune, and, people become lucky as a result of it. There was just a large number of people who were winning large amounts of money in betting or on lotteries and that lot, finding lost family heirlooms, getting jobs that they've been searching for a long time, promotions, just lots and lots and lots of really, really fortunate good luck.
Yeah.
And as a result of this, I mean, statistics are statistics. They're random. And the simple fact is,
but
it seemed like a really, really lucky part of the world. And obviously it was all over social media and whatnot. Our analysts essentially noticed that there was an oddly large amount of very, very fortunate people. At the same time, they noticed that there was also a very large amount of unfortunate evil people, shall we say, like criminals and the like. The police in the area were solving a lot of cold cases based on very little evidence. There seemed to be, a lot of, people being mugged who seemed to be able to fight off their attackers. It's one of those ones where you just kind of looking at it and going, there is something that just feels off. A little bit like the normal chances and the normal state of the world is just being slightly manipulated.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we went in to check it out, as you would.
Sure.
Yeah. We're, an organisation.
You never know what's causing this, so...
Yeah, well, we're an organisation that's, works around weird situations. If we find a weird situation, it's usually better to have a look at it, just to make certain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. The one that really, really triggered us to look at it, though, was linked to fires and reports of loose lions and the disappearance of some criminals in the area.
Uh-huh. I see.
Yeah. Again, you're kind of seeing what we're looking at here. At the very least, it is worth just checking out.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, now that you've told me about these creatures, it's pretty obvious what's happening there. But
yeah,
when you're not primed for that, it's definitely worth looking into, I guess.
Exactly. So, as I've said, supernaturally lucky, and there seems to be a lot of justice being doled out. So it caught our attention. So I went with a senior colleague, a senior investigator at the time. Like I say, I was a new one. So we spent a month kind of going from building to building, arson case to arson case. I say arson, all very controlled. No one getting hurt, apart from people who later on it turns out they probably deserved it. But like I say, we spent about a month or so trying to chase down something. We couldn't quite see what they were because every single time.
Can
Yeah.
Can I ask just one question, just so I get a feel for it?
Yes.
If you say these are people who deserved it, what are we talking about here? What gets you killed by one of these?
Well, corrupt individuals, criminals, people who are stealing, providing scams. Essentially what we could say unambiguously evil people.
Okay, yeah, I'm just wondering where the lines are, because I would hope they don't kill you if you steal a pack of gum or something.
I don't think
I'm just wondering where, how bad do you have to be for them to deal with you?
I don't think they go quite that far down to petty theft. But yeah, and I mean, I can also say in this area there were a couple of politicians who lost their houses too. But again, we'll move on from that.
Oh
no. But yeah, every single time we would be getting close to these creatures, about to kind of interact with one or spot one, you'd see like the shadow, and you'd start to move to try and like get a good view, like try and get the camera out so you've got some video footage to kind of analyze and work through, and then it's gone. You'd blink and it's gone.
Okay.
And obviously now we know it's those damn creatures. They're using their, time stop abilities, time manipulation abilities,
Yeah.
and they're just not allowing us to catch them.
Man, I would love to have that power.
Yeah, so would I. But yeah, so we spent this month kind of trying to chase them down. And then towards the end of the month, we actually managed to not corner one, because again, this kind of creature, I just don't think you can actually really ever say you've cornered one.
Yeah.
They're more kind of willing to at least talk to us at this moment. And what we found was we managed to converse with one long enough, and I was just in awe listening to the other senior warden at the time, who was just talking with this creature and being incredibly diplomatic. And what we actually found out was they were trying to decide if we were good or if we were evil, essentially.
Okay, interesting.
They considered us morally kind of ambiguous as an organization because they see that we're trying to protect animals, and they see that we're trying to, keep people safe, keep mythological creatures safe. But like I said earlier, we sometimes have to suppress the animal's natural instincts. We have to prevent them from hunting people and catching people. I mean, look at things like the hide behind that we talked about a few weeks ago. Simply a creature that is only running off instinct, but we have to stop it. And then think about...
I gotta say, this makes me suddenly very nervous that basically a divine smiting messenger has considered smiting us.
Well, again, like, if you think right back to the ghouls that we talked about in the Halloween special.
Yeah.
Again, they're just running on instinct. They're just doing what they are,
Sure.
their body's telling them to do. And we have to contain them and essentially put them in an enclosure out of the way. But at the same time, if we go back to your episode on the succubus, we protect them, we save them, So they were trying to consider if we were good and kind of righteous in their eyes, or if we were kind of, by their own words, they weren't sure whether they wanted to use the word evil, or if we were just not on the right side of the law in their eyes.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's the moment that we realised the reason why there was so much good luck in the area was it wasn't just one that was hanging around. It was a group of 10.
10. Wow.
Yeah. 10 fire-breathing, time-stopping lions.
Yeah, that sounds like nice company.
Yeah. Luckily, as I say, they decided that we were on the right side of their views, essentially.
Luckily, yeah.
But again, it's one of the reasons why I, as a senior warden, do very much try and push the conservation aspect of our job.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because I do genuinely think it's right. I think it's always the best to conserve people, conserve animals, conserve everything that we possibly can. Also because I have a little bit of a fear that if I go anywhere near East Asia after committing something a little bit more morally ambiguous, I'm gonna get eaten. Or at the very least rammed.
And now, so do I.
So, you know, I try to do positive things in the world.
Yeah.
But
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. So what we ended up doing was we spoke with them and we informed them that obviously their presence was, well, a relatively positive thing. It was definitely going to get them spotted, get them noticed. And while we love what they're doing and we think they can protect themselves, we don't want them to get hurt and we don't want hunters to start trying to get them, because that's kind of sometimes what some people do. So they've started spreading out a lot more in East Asia. They move around, kind of the rural areas, move from area to area, essentially doing their work, doing their job, but for short periods of time in certain areas, so there's not such a concentrated level of good luck and fortune. They seem to be quite happy. We don't really have to interact with them very often. We tend to be more just check in with them when we can. You know, you send an agent like myself down there, and we have a conversation with a few of them, see if they've got any wants, see if they've got any needs, and just inform them if there's any, if they seem to be being noticed in a certain area, so they can avoid it for a little while.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
But afterwards, we found out that there was a very successful criminal that had caught one of them and thought it would bring them good luck, which is why all 10 of them were converging in this area of Seoul.
How would you even catch one of those?
We never found out. We never really found the criminal.
Well,
yeah, well,
it's kind of what I expected to happen.
Well, let's be perfectly honest. As I say, he caught one. He tried containing it, and 9 others descended on him, and his entire organization was quite literally burnt to the ground.
Well, yeah. F around and find out, I guess.
But, yeah. Well, do you know where other people can go and find out?
I wanted to do a segue about what good people could do to avoid getting eaten, but sure, let's go that way. They could probably find out about this and many other creatures on our Discord, which is a place where you can talk about things and creatures that we have talked about on the podcast, or more importantly, probably, creatures that you want us to talk about, so you can suggest things. And between Jack and I, we have probably interacted with most of these, and we can probably tell you more about them. So if you're curious about something, just shoot us a message there, and we will try to tell you what we know.
Yeah. And at the same time, seeing as we have been so kind and so benevolent and so wonderful as to provide you with this amazing bit of entertainment, we would really, really love it if you would like to rate us or give us stars or give us reviews on whatever wonderful application you are using to hear us right now. I'm sure they've also got a way in which you can subscribe or follow to us, and that feeds the algorithm that makes us happy.
Exactly. I would personally love that very much. Everyone who subscribes is going to get a cookie.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean one of those like internet
limited
cookies.
Time offer.
Yeah, limited time offer. It's about 2 minutes after we finish recording this. but
Exactly.
there's always a potential for
So
cookies.
considering we're probably gonna edit it in a couple of weeks, yeah.
Oh, I mean, like the moment
I'm
I've stopped
sorry.
recording, but yeah, after editing. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, and in the meantime, have a lovely, lovely day, and yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.